This is your 20-minute podcast, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
This is your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, and our special guest is Robert Rocky Detwiler. There we go. I had to get the Rocky in there, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Good morning as we're talking. How's the beautiful city of Boise, Idaho today?
Yeah, it really is. It's a city of trees. It's a beautiful valley here. We had a tremendous amount of snow this winter. In fact, we broke all records in the history of snowfall.
Wow.
So, but it's pretty much melted off in the valley, but the hills are still getting a lot of snow. So it's lovely. I love Boise. I love the Treasure Valley.
Absolutely right. Well, and you love what you've done with your life, man. I was reading your bio, and you've been ESPN said it was one of the most inspiring stories they've run across in a long time. And
that's true.
You've been on quite the ride. It says you use a 5-step process to reclaim your health and fitness, connections and happiness, prosperity and dreams. I mean, if us normal folks could do two of those, we'd be pretty happy.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I kept it simple. I'm a farm boy, right? So I was raised on a farm, and I figured, hey, I want to keep it simple. And because I'm a simple guy, and I figured, hey, I don't need 7 pillars or 10 pillars. I need 3 pillars, and so let me work on those 3 things. And so that's what we wrote a book about, the 3 pillars called the Samson Effect, and how you can transform your life with the power of words. Most powerful force in the world, David.
No question about that. Absolutely right. So tell me, I mean, you have to have a low. Most of us have to have some kind of a low point to get motivated and to step out of that low point and become what we're destined to be. What was your story?
Well, my story was that I had chased a dream since I was a kid, and that was to retire early. I heard on an Amway tape when I was 13, hey, you've arrived when you can retire on the interest of your principal. And so that's what I set out to do. And it took a lot of different companies, me experiencing, not just corporate America, but just, companies in general, and building and losing and failing and building and failing over and over until in my 30s, I was able to obtain that goal. And so I did. I was able to kind of retire early, and I invested with a close friend of mine. And that investment turned out to be one of Arizona's largest Ponzi schemes. So I became a victim of, one of Arizona's largest Ponzi schemes. And that sent me in a downhill spiral, black hole abyss of loss. And so I ended up losing everything, home and land and possessions, and ended up moving to the state of Washington for a job opportunity, which that didn't last. And the company I started to build, that didn't last anyways. It was just one thing after another. And I ended up at a dark place in life, David, where is life worth living? So I arrived at that place where I was fat. I didn't care about my health anymore. I didn't care about what I was eating. It became very depressed, very lonely, and ultimately ended up in a place of suicide. How do you end all the pain?
Right. So when you got to that place, and a lot of us have been there, whether we'll admit it or not, a lot of us have, personally, I've been in that place, so I get it.
Yeah.
So when you hit that darker than dark place, and you have the epiphany to get out, what triggered you to go, screw this, man, I'm better than this?
Well, it was standing looking in the mirror at that guy, looking back in the mirror, which I didn't want to look at him, as he was a failure and a loser and an idiot, and all the things that you're telling yourself, all the negative words you could possibly come up with.
Right.
But I forced myself to look at, myself in the mirror, and tears are streaming down my face. And I was at that point where I had to make a choice. And the choice was, I got to decide whether I was going to live or die. That's how far I got. And I decided to live. Thank God he was in my life, or wouldn't be sharing this with you today.
Yep.
And I started making simple little changes. That night I went in and I did a little video, and I wrote a contract to myself. I immediately went downstairs and started getting rid of all the Fruity Pebbles and donuts and junk food. And then the next day I ended up going getting good food. So I didn't wait. I made the decision, and then I got after it. I made a commitment to myself. And so if I could say, hey, what's the steps, Rocky? Well, the first thing is you got to make a decision to change. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is you need to get a plan. So I put a plan together, and then I committed to that. And that's the third thing, is I committed to it. So 3 simple things. Just go do that, and then I think you can see positive change. It can happen in relationships. It can happen in business. It can happen with your fitness. And that's what I did. And things started to change for me.
That's remarkable. It seems to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that when you were 13 and you heard that Amway tape, you already had a drive in you that was there. I mean, you were driven at a young age, and then when you found that dark place, all of a sudden that drive showed up again.
Hey, that's a good point. I've been on dozens and dozens of interviews, and that's the first time someone's actually pointed that out to me. But you're right. It's the way I was thinking before, and I was able to use that as an anchor, if you will, right? That was an anchor in my life, and it was the oak tree that, doesn't wave. And I went back to that anchor, and I dug deep. And I think that, that if you're a human, you want to live. You really do want to live. And mine just happened to be a deep inset belief that there was more to life than what I was seeing that night in the mirror. And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what my life could bring, but I wanted to just live again, to be honest with you. That was the first step, is I wanted to live again.
Right. Well, you wanted to live again, and then you went and got rid of the bad stuff, brought in the new stuff. What I'm really impressed about is you made a contract with yourself.
Yes, that's true. Actually, this last weekend, we met with a large organization here in Boise, and we have them sign a commitment letter. So I took what I did, and I have implemented that now into companies. We're going to meet with a school here in Boise too at the end of the week, and when we bring them on bring on the school and work with the teens, I'm also going to have them sign commitment letters. So whenever I work with somebody, a company, organization, school, even an individual, when I'm coaching them, I always have them sign a commitment letter. You're going to sign this to yourself. This is like a contract to yourself. If I'm going to work with you, I want you to commit to you. I'm going to help. I'm going to be there as an accountability coach, but I want you to commit to what you said you were going to do. And that's what a lot of people don't do. And it happens all the time. We see it happen all the time. It happens in relationships. I don't like it. It's too hard, and they bug out.
Yeah.
And no, listen, make a commitment, because that's the strongest thing you could do in your life, is make a commitment to something.
And one of the things that we have all done, and a lot of us still do, and it makes the news every year at the same time, we make a New Year's resolution, which is not a contract to ourselves, and we go out to the gym for a week and a half, and then we go, we're done.
Hey, listen, that's been happening for a really long time, David. And
right?
Yeah. Hey, I love to work with those kind of people, that want to make the commitment. But you know what? That is so true, and that is so correct too. But the gyms love it, right? If you're on a yearly contract, oh my goodness, make the commitment for a week and then pay us for 12 months. That's good.
Oh, exactly right.
So there's the price to pay for that. But yes, that makes sense. Absolutely. Very, very important, because that happens all the time. And the more you make a promise to yourself and break it, the easier it is to get out of it, right? It becomes norm to just say you're going to do something and don't do it. My goodness, that's not how my dad was raised.
Yeah.
Where was your bond? It meant something.
Right. We all gravitate to whatever that comfort zone is, and if we're used to that negative comfort zone, well, guess what? That's where we're going to go.
That's right. Yep.
One of the great things about what you've done, and you mentioned it early on when we first started talking, and that is the power of words.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Yes.
So tell me about that, because it looks like you use that in all facets of your communication.
Well, I'm one of the country's foremost experts on the power of words, David. And I've transformed my life into 3 specific areas because I focused on the power of words. It's the most powerful force in the world. I've asked hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, what's more powerful than creation? And I haven't had anybody say there's anything more powerful. So if your words create, what's greater than that? And yet we yield that power every single day in our lives. It's what we say to ourselves. It's what we say to other people, because our words are carriers of power. They're godlike. So it's like a tree. That tree one day was a seed, very similar to the words that we say, the words that we speak. And sometimes we just yield these like, man, we're taking out a sword and we're just cutting our friends up. We're cutting our family up with these swords. And there they are laying on the ground dead. and you just diced them up, but you did it with your words.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you don't have to kill kids, with weapons anymore. They can do it on just online. They can do it on Facebook. They can do it on Twitter. They can just say something to somebody, and before you know it, I mean, we're in Idaho, so we're 5th in the nation for teen suicide. It's horrible, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just absolutely horrible.
Colorado's right there with you. I mean, it's unbelievable,
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I program helps solve that problem. We don't market it as a teen prevention program. We market it as a leadership program. And in everything we do is the power of words, because the power of words is the most powerful force in the world. It's what you're thinking about. So your thoughts become your words. Then your words create your actions. So, if you think about it, if those who are married or have boyfriends or girlfriends or, someone in their life, and you just say something and they take it wrong, you just said something. But those are words, and we take those to heart. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But years later, right? Years later, and all of us probably have that example in my life, and I have it in my book. It's like, I thought you meant this. And you've gone years because of that wedge that drove into a relationship. When if we could be really cautious and careful of the words that we say, oh my goodness, how much better off would we be, David?
No question about it. And the easy mantra is think before you speak, right?
That's right. I'm going to give you a great example, okay?
Yeah.
And I love stories. So I love telling stories. Well, one of my favorite stories of all time is the story of Andrew. He's got a knife to his throat, and this is how he was choosing to commit suicide. And before he does this, he has only one thought. He had one thought, and his thought was, is there anybody in my life that just loves and cares about me? For whatever reason, it was a girl at school that said hi to him. And the second thought was, I wonder if she'd say hi to me again. The third thought was, I wonder if she'd be my friend. Now, that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. That's the power of our words that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And now, more today than ever before. So if there are moms and dads listening to this, what I coach the teens and the kids in school is just find another kid in the school on a daily basis that you could just say hi to. That's it. You don't have to strike up a conversation, but here's what normally happens is the kids strike up conversations with them. We've had counselors and teachers across the board in different schools come to these kids that we've trained and taught and say, hey, you said hi to this girl and she came to me crying because nobody's ever said hi to her. That's a true story. This happens. But what about Walt, who is, greeting you at Walmart, right? And Walt's 78.
Right.
I mean, do you think we have these opportunities all day long just to encourage and uplift people just by saying hi to them or calling them by their name, David?
No question about it. I've always been impressed by how strangers that you don't even know, you've never met, can change your life.
In such a fast, quick, we're talking in a short period of time, too.
Right.
Just the hi, just looking them in the face, just sharing a smile. It's the simplest little acts of kindness and love that we can pass along in our day.
Yep. One of the things about words that's gotten more and more troubling, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, is in texting in particular, email secondarily, everything is so cryptic and so can be easily misunderstood and misinterpreted in negative ways right off the bat.
Yeah, I write about that in my book as well. That texting, 7% of communication. 7. That means that 93% of your communication in texting, it's not even there. So it means 93% of your communication to that other person, they're not even hearing it. And yet people break up together. They try and communicate through text, and there's things you can't say. And the generation now is growing up without the face-to-face, the one-on-one communication conversation where it's texting, it's on the phone, it's Facebook, and those people become their friends. And it's just this facade of relationship building, which it's not even really real. And that's the sad part of it. And I don't mean to come at it from a negative standpoint. I really don't, because everything we do is positive. All of our colors, all of our imaging, our words on our apparel, in our company. But these are just some of the facts that we have to face. And this is reality of where we are and what we're dealing with. And so I always suggest, man, if you can get with the person, talk to them even on the phone's better than a texting, and definitely a face-to-face. There's just so much to be said about that. So much to be said. Yeah.
No question about it. Of course, what dovetails into all of that, and one of the things that you've had, I'm and just looking at your bio that you've obviously had some success with bullying is like crazy.
So bullying's a big deal too. Back to the school that we've been talking about doing some work with. It's actually not a school. It's actually it's one of the stations here that is very interested in working with bullying, and that's a really big thing because bullying, you don't have to do it in person. That's the thing. You don't have to be there in person. You can just bully somebody on social media. And that's why we're seeing the bullying rise. That's why we're seeing, suicide rates rise. Is because they're using their words in a destructive way that can hurt and in some cases kill other individuals. Because you don't have to kill an individual with a weapon. You can do that by killing their influence and their character. And it's done by words. Oh, it's so destructive, David. So we're on the warpath to help build back and encourage and inspire, individuals with their words, to uplift people, to encourage them, and to start with yourself. Do the right for yourself first, right? And so I always have 3 things that I like to give out to people, and you can go to our website and you can get this for free. One's Fit to Healthy, and it's a free ebook. We give it to you. It's 26 pages. We want you to have that for free, David. So that's at rockydetwiler.com. You can also go to our online site, which is samson.life, and Samson's SAMSON.life. And we have free, 3 keys to happiness, and we just give them away. Go check those out. There's simple things that I teach and train people to do, David, that if they did these every day, they'd be happier, they would be healthier individuals, and they'd reach more people.
Wow. Folks, again, jot that down. It's rockydetwiler.com, ROCKYDETWILER.com, and then Samson, like the character in the Bible, Samson.life, and get those free opportunities to get some positive words in your life. And words change people's life, good, bad, or indifferent. They change us all, don't they?
They absolutely do. And David, if there's people that want a new book to read, they really want to find that key to transforming their life in any area, they can go on Amazon and go get my book. I really recommend it. There was times like, no, I think you should go get it. And the reason why is because I really believe it will transform your life.
Yeah.
It's just it was a God's wrote book, in my opinion. And so the Samson Effect is a great book to help transform lives.
Well, and there's a reason it's a best-selling book. It touches people in the most appropriate ways. So
I appreciate that.
God bless you, man. You
hey, thank you.
You got a calling that you're living, and I got goosebumps just talking to you. It's
David, that's awesome, man.
It's quite a thrill.
I always appreciate the time to get a chance to share. And
go to rockydetwiler.com and samson.life. Download those free tips. I'm doing it next, so that's cool, man. And be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/your 20-minute podcast.
Until next time, don't forget to download your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. That's audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast for your free audiobook. And thanks for listening to Your 20-Minute Podcast with David Brower.